Well, there is a psychological operation. There's an agenda that people try to hold. You have to be smart enough to know when that is being applied, and you have the responsibility as a man to go against it, right? So it doesn't matter what agenda that they're rolling up. It's your job to not align with it.
I'm man enough to understand that I don't have to agree with everybody or I don't have to like everybody, but I still have to give them their rights. Like, they should still get their rights. Like, there's an outlet here, it's called Rebel News. They say some controversial stuff, not accurate stuff. They say some crazy stuff that they're just like that media agency that's known for clout, but they got banned because they don't spit facts. Sure, but they still should be able to say whatever they want to say. What's your message for men today that are out there that say, hey, I just want to be a good man, I want to be a good role model to my kids, I want to be a masculine man, but I'm confused because I look around and it's like I'm scared because I can't even be myself here. What would your advice be for those men?
So my name is Terry Wilson, 24 years, United States Army, Green Beret. You can find me on Instagram, terry.m.wilson.jr. Right now I'm a coach and consultant for men for leadership, fitness, and nutrition.
Welcome to another episode of the Punches and Prayers podcast. Today I have a very special guest all the way from the United States of America. Flew out here from Florida. We got introduced by a mutual friend of ours, Trevor Luchuk, who was on our podcast before. I know you guys watched this video. And we have him here. He was an ex-United States Green Beret military officer. And he now coaches men and is trying to make men the best possible versions of themselves. We have none other than Terry Wilson. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Welcome to the show. I know we just got to know each other.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the stuff that you said off camera. I know we
Yeah.
can't talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I love your outlook on it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't always want to agree with people. I like disagreeing in a respectful way. And I think me and you had that.
Yeah, it's all about respect, and the reality of it is you're not going to agree with everybody. I mean, you're not going to agree with your wife, you're not going to agree with your kids, your parents. It's about doing it in a way that is conducive, and then maybe seeing something that you didn't see in the past.
Yeah.
You know
Also,
what I mean?
it's intentions too. Like, I always, when someone's doing an argument or something, what's the intention of this?
Yeah.
Right? The intention matters. So I think that guys like me and you, our intention is to figure life out and to help others figure it out, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like obviously you get in some arguments and people are intentionally being disrespectful, and you're like, okay, now it's kind of like you're at a point where it's like, all right, or there's an intention to like, hey, this is the way I see it, and these are the reasons why. You know what I mean? This is just from experience and things that I've done wrong or maybe done right. You know.
So for our audience that don't know about who you are, give a little quick introduction of like who Terry Wilson is, where'd you grow up, what led you to join the United States Army, what kind of stuff you do, in just a nutshell, so that our people understand who you are.
Yeah. So Terry Wilson, I am 45 years old. I did 24 years service, and then while I was in, I did about my first 20 years as a Green Beret. I was gone, TDY, deployed like almost 11 years. So married, 4 kids, married for 25 years. So yeah, man, I mean, that's pretty much me. I mean, there's a way long story on there.
Where'd you
if you want to
grow up
look at
exactly?
it, what's that?
Where'd you grew up exactly?
So I grew up in St. Louis, like St. Louis area, and that's Missouri.
Yeah.
So right where the arch is at.
And
So.
when did you move to Florida?
So I moved to Florida back in. So I moved around a little bit because obviously being in the military, you get like your PCS from one duty station to the next. But we moved to Florida because it was because of a military move. So with our group was down there, so we moved there for work, and then once I retired, I just stayed down there.
Yeah, you like Florida?
Oh, I would love it. Yeah.
Nothing. Do they have lakes in Missouri though?
Yeah, they got lakes there,
Yeah.
but like we weren't by it. They had normally where I was at, they had the rivers, the Missouri and Mississippi River. So
Okay.
yeah, they're not as nice as the
Okay.
as the ocean.
So what made you get into the military? What was the driving factor when you're growing up? Like, what made you decide to say, hey man, I'm going to choose this as my career?
So I think obviously depending on like where lifestyle you're at, people join the military for different reasons. For me personally, I was in some trouble with the law. It was kind of one of those things where it's like trying to raise, a new father, just got married. It was like kind of one of those things. It's like, all right, I got to get my family out of the situation we were in. So I joined the military because of that. That was our main.
That was the reason.
Yeah, that was the main reason.
That's how it started.
That's usually how I started. Like obviously, yeah, you want to serve your country, but you're like, I gotta get my family out of here. So, and that was one way to do it. So
Nice.
yeah.
So you did 20 years, you said, right?
Yeah, 24.
Wow.
Yeah, 24 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, long
So
time.
you're pretty skilled with guns and stuff, I'm sure.
Yep. Yeah. Say so.
What other trainings have you are you specialized in when it comes to hand-to-hand combat? Any specifications?
Yeah. So like there you do some combatives. but majority of the combatives there that you do, it's more about like they'll teach you like the normal standard like MMA, but the whole intention of it is to create space. It's not like to roll around the ground to see who can beat who, right? The whole point is to create space so you can transition to either get that person away, to stop them, or take them out, right? It's not about like rolling around on the ground.
Okay.
So.
Got it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're deployed in different countries as well, right?
Yes. Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. Afghanistan, Iraq, Central South America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the best place you were deployed at? If you had to choose, the best out of all
the worst ones. I don't know. I really didn't deploy any good ones. Yeah. All the countries I went to were all
war-torn, eh?
Well, so okay. So you go to a country and you're like, oh, this is a great country. But if you're in a country and it's because you're there conducting combat. Yeah. It doesn't matter how beautiful the country looks. Yeah. It's still, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're kind of, it's a whole different kind of real or thought process, you know what I mean? So,
how's the camaraderie around you, like when you were in your division? Like how is that in the military in the United States? Like how special feeling is that to be around men that are on the same mission and knowing that you got brothers that are behind your back, because it kind of lacks today in society where men don't keep each other accountable, and you know what I'm saying? Like in the real world, it's different versus what you probably witness in the military.
Yeah. So I think that's a lot of things where people really don't, maybe they understand it, maybe they don't, but people make little small decisions in their life. And a lot of times as men, they're doing it to be a part of something bigger, right? No matter what that is, you know. But in the military, like you're on a small team and everybody that's there has already went through some type of selection, right? So they had to really be tough to get there, right? You're just not throwing people in a room. So everybody's qualified to be there. You know what I mean? So the camaraderie there is it's like nowhere else in the world.
Yeah, and you know, some of the guys you probably did your whole 24-year career with, and how much?
No, you really don't do. No, because you're still moving around, and guys are getting promoted and moving somewhere else. But you may spend a good 3, 4, 5+ years, and they maybe go to a different battalion or something, but the groups really stay together. Once you get the group or whatever, you may deploy a little bit, they may go back and forth, but you're pretty close to them for some time. Yeah.
And what made you get into coaching right after the military? So how did that come about?
So we own a few brick and mortar companies, and I just had some extra time, and then like I wasn't really living I wasn't getting fulfillment from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for me personally, it was I missed the help leading men. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was a sense of fulfillment in the mentoring and the training that I did whenever I was still in the military. Yeah. So and then just helping people reach their goals and helping them in life. You know what I mean? And that's where I was like kind of wanting to get back into that.
And so you have a program online, like on like where can people find that program, and what does that program consist of?
So the program I have, it's I mainly do everything off of social media. So it's like on Instagram, starting up the YouTube channel. I really haven't got that really moving yet. But I do leadership, networking, fitness and nutrition, going over finding your purpose and kind of reaching fulfillment. So those are like my big core kind of principles, and then obviously mental resilience. You know,
and these like
mindset.
One-on-one coaching calls, or
so we do I do one-on-one, and I do group calls.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on where everybody's at and what they're trying to do. You know, I have some entrepreneurs that want like one-on-one solving very specific problems. Yeah. You know what I mean? So then I work with them, and then we have people that are just like, okay, I just need the group coaching. You know, maybe not something as intensive.
Yeah.
So.
And you came to Canada like what, a week ago? Hold on.
Yeah. What is that? I got here on. Yeah, right on Tuesday.
Okay.
I got in.
You're out in Vancouver.
Yeah. No, it was in. Man, I butcher the name. Kelowna. Kelowna. Okay. Yeah. We flew into Kelowna. Yeah.
British Columbia. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we went there.
How'd you like the mountains?
It was good. I was there at a mansion. There was like a mastermind there, so we did that for like 2 or 3 days. Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now you're in Toronto. How you like Toronto?
Good. It was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything specific that you've seen so far that you didn't like?
That I don't or like?
Yeah, that you don't like. How about the traffic? It's pretty crazy traffic out here, no?
Man, I don't know. So, not to where like you get the tourist over there and it's just not even moving at all.
Yeah.
So like different seasons over there in Florida, like some of the traffic's like nice, and some of it's like once the tourist season comes in, like spring break and that, like I don't even go on the other side of the bridge because it's just so packed.
How far are you from Miami?
So Miami's South Florida. So I am, where like in the Panhandle is where I'm at, like
Okay.
Pensacola, Panama City Beach.
Okay. How far is that from Tampa?
I think it's like 6 hours, about 6 hours or so. I think from Tampa, and you're looking at 8-9 hours to like Orlando, maybe a little bit longer to Orlando, and then Miami's a couple more hours from there.
I go to Miami often. I've been to, crazy story. I've driven from here to Miami straight in one shot.
What?
Alone. Yeah, 27 hours, one shot. From
You didn't
Toronto.
stop and rest or anything?
Just for pissing and
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
gas.
And
That's
gas.
nothing else. When I was 26,
I hate driving.
Can't do that no more though. Like
Yeah.
I'm 35 now, but when I was 26 in like 2015,
Yeah.
I had a Range Rover, and I'm like, let's do this mission. I had to do something in Florida.
Yeah.
I could have flown very
Yeah.
easily. I was just like, you know what? Let's try something new. I like missions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine it was winter time in Canada. It was snowing like minus 30.
Uh-huh.
I saw 4 seasons basically, right?
Yeah.
So by the time I came to Miami, it was before Miami, Atlanta was rainish.
Yeah.
And then after rain, it turns into complete like 30 degrees weather. It's like,
Yeah.
I saw all 4 seasons in one day.
Oh, yeah.
Right? 27 like one day plus a couple hours. So
Yeah.
I left here at like 5 a.m. in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And I got there so the next morning, 8 a.m. or something like that, because
Yeah.
27 hours. But literally, I did not even stop more than maybe 30 minutes of like pissing and eating, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it, literally, and filling up the gas.
Yeah.
And it was okay. And I did it back too, by the way. I did it, and I came back in the same
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me to do that,
Yeah.
but I've done the same thing in Canada. I've driven from here to BC.
Did you do it by yourself, or did you have somebody
Alone,
right with you?
alone,
By your own?
me, solo,
Oh
nobody.
man, screw that.
Yeah. When you're young, you could do it.
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah, yeah,
you're 26, it's
yeah.
like, but it's funny to see because it's like, the thing about that trip is I left in a Canada goose jacket, like in a full goose jacket, furred
yeah.
up, and like as I'm going, the temperatures are like getting
Changing,
hotter. So it's
yeah.
like, and time zones are changing, right, or something? No,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
same time zone, no?
No, it'd be a different time zone.
Maybe, yeah. But I
Because
remember
you said where were you coming from?
from here, from Toronto, yeah.
Oh no, you're probably
Same.
So you're
It's same. Yeah, I think the same
Yeah,
time
so
zone.
close,
But but we went to Atlanta. I remember I went through all these U.S. cities, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I almost
Oh, yeah.
got mugged there at one point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was crazy. Like some of the I went through the ghetto of America, and like
Yeah.
then like it's like America's a very vast place.
It's a what?
It's very vast. Meaning,
Oh, yes.
you guys
Yeah.
have extreme poverty and extreme richness,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and I think the middle class is now becoming
Yeah.
poorer and poorer. But I think that's what's happening in the world in general.
Yeah.
But in Canada, still one thing you'll see, like we still have this pretty similar type of like there's no hood here or like ghetto.
Yeah.
Right. You're never gonna see like real ghetto here.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can see in the States, like some of the places you go in the States, you're like, yo, am I in a first world country still?
Yeah.
Like, am I even in America?
So Trevor, we're talking about that is like the culture. Like so, you go to one like state or certain areas in like the U.S. It's a whole different dialect, whole different culture. Like you don't really think about it being an American,
Yeah.
like U.S. Well, I don't know if a lot of people think about it that much. Just because I travel and then you go over to like. Once you start noticing it in other countries, like you can go to England or Germany, you go to different places and you can't understand, or Central and South America, like the dialect changes like significantly, and then the culture changes the same way in the States. You got up north, east, they're going to talk different than, Michigan and Texas and Alabama and then California, and a whole different, not just the language, but the dialect and the thought process. You know what I mean? So, but here in Canada, he's saying it's not. It's pretty much
It's not too much different.
Too much difference,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
still like
Maybe a little bit by
there's a level of
townships or whatever.
lifestyle that they're trying to maintain here. Like
Yeah.
the roads are a certain way. Yes, there's some areas that are extremely rich, like you go to Bridle Path or whatever. But
yeah,
the average Canadian still has it's like a socialist country, right? So
Yeah,
they need
yeah,
to keep everything
yeah.
very similar,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's the politics of Canada.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's a welfare state, so they got to keep. They can't have too much hood,
Gotcha.
right? Like
Yeah.
I remember in America, the stuff I've seen was crazy. I remember where was it in Cleveland? There was literally signs when I was driving saying that if you feel danger while you're stopped at a red light, break the red
Yeah.
light. Like there were signs literally posted by the municipal government there.
Really?
Saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Because literally there was a lot of shootings happening there,
Oh, okay.
right? And like you see like at the bus stops there, like we don't ever have this in any Canadian bus stop. Like you see bulletproof glass on the bus stops and you see bullets bounced off of
Yeah.
them. In America, there's places like that,
Yeah.
right? Like Cleveland, Chicago. You go some of these places, in some
Yeah.
of the hoods there, like they have that. We don't
Yeah.
have that yet.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right? America has that type of a vibe. Like I think the most ghettoest two places that I've seen in America, I would say Cleveland, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and Cincinnati.
Oh yeah.
Man.
I don't know. I've never been to either one of those places really.
Okay, you haven't. I've driven.
Uh-uh.
Like if you drive through that, man, like when I say slum,
Yeah.
like slum.
Yeah.
Like I literally saw an open drug deal happen in front of me, and the cop's just standing there. He's like, yeah, like he was part of it.
Yeah.
Like openly in the middle of the day, when you saw
Yeah.
guys pull up, cop winked at him, boom, boom,
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
no problem. Bags exchanged, done. Like in the middle of the day. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
right?
crazy.
Yeah, America's diverse like that, right? Like you have like it's such a big place where there's so much diversity from place to place.
Yeah. I mean, you have. I guess it kind of depends on what you look at diverse. I guess too, because that's a whole different other like
Yeah.
thought process. Because you got diverse in beliefs and diverse in like culture.
Yeah.
Diverse in like just skin color.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like diverse in resources and socioeconomic status. So like there's a big difference, I think, depending on what you kind of like look at in a country that's like diverse or not diverse. You know what I mean? And then like, okay, how much do you have to where you have different thought processes and different beliefs coming into your country and be like, okay, well, what's the origin of the country? You know what I mean? Kind of what we're talking about that with here in Canada about the immigration here.
Yeah, it's crazy out here.
And you're like, well, you know what I mean? It's like, well, how much immigration do you have to where it changes the whole nationality of a country?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how does that look?
Yeah, 100%.
So.
But they need a lot of workers here still. They still
need workers.
They need way more still. The thing is, the thing about Canada is it's like there's only like when you think Canada, it's a big plot of land. Like Trump says it, it's like there's this whole
that's
land.
what he was. Yeah, I was telling me.
And then people just come to the main cities. Like you come to Vancouver, Toronto.
Yeah.
But we have all this untouched land, buddy. Like we have in Ontario alone, there's 27 hours of driving where there's nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Like if you
So
if you hit a moose there, there's like 7 hours before a cop reaches you.
How does it? Is there a fuel station? I guess
Nothing. So good you said this. So in Canada, in Ontario, the last city is, I believe, Sault Ste. Marie, right, Trevor? Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie is a stop. Whenever you stop there at a gas station,
Yeah.
the gas station people tell you that, hey, buddy, take some extra like canisters.
Cans. Yeah.
Because for the next 18 hours, there's nothing. Literally nothing. Like no coffee, no nothing. I remember I did this drive.
Yeah.
And some people don't even drive through Canada. What they do is like, let's say if people are moving back from Alberta to Ontario, they'll cross the border and then come from America. And because at least in America, every 2 minutes there's a McDonald's.
Yeah,
every 2 minutes there's something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't have it like that, man.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the problem with our country is that it's not, yes, it's the immigration problem, but it's how the immigration is spread. So there's no like rules that you have to be like in this city and populate that city. It's like, no, you can come here and land in like Saskatchewan, which is where you got your papers, and then you can move to Ontario.
Gotcha.
But now Ontario is overloaded, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So like we have 33 million people in all of Canada with all these like provinces, and I think like 7 million is Ontario, 8 million, something like that is Ontario. 14 million. So do the math. 14 million is Ontario.
Yeah.
6 million is in Quebec, or 7 million in Quebec, and then 7 million in Alberta, and the rest 6 million throughout this whole big country that Trump talks about. He says like it's a beautiful land, we shouldn't have a boundary.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot is going to change in this country. Well, I mean, we don't know yet. If the liberals win again, I don't know what's going to happen to this country. Like we're in for a spin. But I think your government wants the liberals to win here.
Yeah.
Because I think he likes to deal. I think he'll have an easier time dealing with them. Versus if conservatives come here. So, but the people here are tired, man, of the liberal way.
Yeah.
It's gone way too left, bro. There's no medium ground.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can't have that because then you have the problem is you have big shifts from one side to the next.
Yeah. The other day, some guy told me, he's like, if Mark Carney wins again, he's like, if the liberal government wins, say bye to your podcast.
Oh yeah.
This is the guy.
Well, I mean,
so they have censorship
you
laws.
You joke because you're already censorship on a lot of things, so that's very realistic.
Yeah. So we have censorship laws. There's a bill. I forget the name of the bill. It's waiting to pass in the Senate here, like in the courts here. And if that passes, they can shut you up anytime you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no freedom of speech. No freedom. It's only freedom of speech if it fulfills their agenda. So if I'm a man that comes out talks about men's rights and masculinity, that's considered misogyny. But if I tomorrow go right now on camera and said I'm going to cut my genitals and I'm going to become this whatever, then that freedom of speech is okay.
Yeah.
Because it promotes their agenda.
Well, see, that's not freedom of speech because you have to allow the person that you don't agree with to speak.
100%.
If you want freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You can't control speech if you want freedom of speech.
Yeah. Here we had truckers that went on a rally. They got thrown in jail, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. That was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, Justin Trudeau did that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like if this liberal government comes again in Canada, like somebody said, like, see, he said, put it on record that you're
Yeah.
going to shut your podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how hard that would be. So I guess you could do the podcast and probably put it through like a VPN.
Yeah.
Because like reality is it's structured through. Well, I don't know. I guess because they
It
can
just
control the
probably won't show in
Wi-Fi.
Canada. It probably just won't show in
Switch
Canada.
show in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll show
Yeah.
across the world because
Just
YouTube
not
is
in
not their
Canada.
platform. It
Yeah.
just won't, like, Canadians won't be able to view it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
that
what it
be
would
the
be.
biggest thing.
Yeah. Even right now, there's some news channels right now. Like, what's crazy is, like, American podcasts, you can't even go and find them. Like, for example, you know Patrick Bet-David, right?
Yep.
PBD
Yeah.
podcast.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
if you
I
go on
really like
Instagram here right now, if you try to find his account, Valuetainment, it doesn't even load up. It says this account is banned in Canada.
Why would they ban him?
They ban his value because he talks about he's right-wing media, right?
I mean, he's conservative, but I don't think he's like far right.
But he brings everybody on there, right? So he gives
Yeah.
everybody an open mic.
So yeah, that's what I mean. So like, I mean, he's had all kinds of people on there that
100%.
he
He
didn't
had Trump
agree
on.
with or whatever.
But he had Trump
Yeah,
on there too.
Yeah. So I mean,
But he's shadow banned here.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
There's this other news network which I don't like either, by the way. But I
Yeah.
still don't believe. Like, here's the thing: I'm man enough to understand that I don't have to agree with everybody or I don't have to like everybody, but I still have to give them their rights, right? Like, they should still get their rights. Like, there's an outlet here. It's called Rebel News. They say some controversial stuff, not accurate stuff. They say some crazy stuff that they're just like that media agency that's known for clout.
Yep.
But they got banned because they don't spit facts. Sure, but they still should be able to say whatever they want to say, right?
Yes. Like so. Like for me personally, like that's why I said like you cannot have freedom of speech if you can't only say what you want to hear.
Yeah.
You have to be able to let the other person say something that you don't want to, you may not agree with, and then at the same token, that people might say some things that aren't true either, right? So like, because at the end of the day, if I'm voicing this as my opinion doesn't have to be true.
100%.
Right? So, but when you start trying to control opinions, and then now you start trying to control facts, and it's a very slippery slope. Now you're just controlling what people to hear, what you want them to hear, and that's not freedom of speech.
Well, here in Canada, no court case is also publicly displayed. So imagine all the court stuff that happens in Canada. You can never watch a footage of it. Like, you know, and we watch whenever there's a rapper in court or whatever, we get to see the footage.
Yeah.
Like, they show it, right? It's recorded and they show it for it gets public record if you want to access it.
Yeah.
In Canada, not even a single thing that happens in court is public record.
Really?
So a judge can make whatever decision behind closed doors, and he's protected. And if you actually film it or put it up, you could go and throw it in jail.
So do you have access to see what the decision is afterwards?
Yes, but it's their narrative. It's by their media agencies that are putting it
I
out.
gotcha.
So it's not like you don't see the actual.
You don't see the due process.
You don't see the process. Yeah.
Okay,
You just get
I
the
gotcha.
result. Well, man
You
was
just get the
convicted or
result.
not convicted.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. There's not like, or you hear like a snippet like, oh, the jury saw this and this and that, but you don't hear like the exact proceedings. You'll never get to know.
You get to see that. Okay.
And I can tell you, just being in the court system for 2 years, I've seen some crazy stuff. I'm like, yo, like if this stuff comes out, like this should come out, because men need to see what happens here,
Yeah.
right? Like, I saw a powerful guy do some crazy stuff to a woman.
Yeah.
But just because he was powerful, they didn't even ask jail time for him to crown. He had like a special crown appearance. Like, it was a special crown that came for him, and said, yeah, Your Honor, this man doesn't deserve jail. Normally, in every other case, like if you're just an average Joe, they always ask for some jail time. Whether the judge gives it or not, that's another question. But for any like domestic thing, there's always some kind of jail sentence that they're proposing, whether it's 7 days, 20 days, 30 days. This guy, he did some crazy stuff to a woman, like really crazy stuff. It was on, they played the recordings in court too. And it was almost like, this guy came with power and he got everything out. And this is what I was talking to you earlier about, that the sad part about the system is the way it is that real victims don't get their justice. But then there's a whole bunch of baloney that there's just charges being thrown like crazy to every other man. But sometimes there's real victims of domestic violence, domestic abuse. They don't get their justice because some powerful guy comes in and says, I'm doing this. And it was funny because when Trevor knows this because he's here, but like, if you're in domestic violence, you have a prior criminal record, that goes into play into like sentencing. So it was brought up like this. This is how the Crown argued his case. Well, he has a prior criminal record from like 4 years ago. What's the criminal record again? Oh, it was an assault in a bar. Oh, well, that's not related.
Yeah.
For him, it wasn't related at that point.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? But other guys, they could have some petty, like anything, like a jaywalking charge or something, and now it's related.
Yeah.
But a judge here in this country, there's no accountability.
Yeah.
Right? There's no, like,
that's crazy.
They can that's how crazy this utopia is. Like, people don't know how Canada works.
Yeah.
Like, I know Americans talk about this. Like, if you go on, I've seen like some podcasters talk about this, even like InfoWars and Alex Jones and stuff. Like, in Canada, there's secrecy in all of this.
Yeah.
Like they can do whatever
Yeah.
and literally put you away if they have to.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like we live in a very, very controlled, heavy government influence country. Very heavily government
Yeah.
influence. Yeah.
So what is it going to take to pull that back, you think?
Hmm?
What do you think it would take to go the opposite direction?
Well, the thing is, in the past, right? Like a lot of guys talked a lot of big game. We had Stephen Harper before too, who was a conservative, but they didn't do much. Like a lot of guys talk to get into power,
Yeah.
but once they get in, there's nothing that happens,
Yeah.
right? Like even in the family system, there's a lot of activists that are out there that have been voicing for years. I know personally them because I've met them, and they're like, we've been trying for years to say, hey, these laws need to change. They're outdated. The family system hasn't been updated in forever. We've been using these laws forever. You know, the way that the system is set up a certain way that when somebody goes through a divorce or whatever, these lawyers train their clients to do X, Y, and Z, and they know it's false, but it pays the system,
Yeah.
right? I have a friend who's a police officer, and he said 95% of our work here in Canada is domestics. If domestics didn't exist, we wouldn't have 95% of police officers that we need,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, and in America, you guys have freedom of protecting yourself.
Yeah.
There's self-defense. There's no self-defense in Canada, by the way.
Yeah.
So you know how self-defense works in Canada? Let's say we're sitting here right now in my house on a podcast.
Yep.
Some intruder comes into our house,
Yep.
right? If we don't use subjective use of force to just not only restrain him, we hurt him, we end up in jail.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
This is Canada, buddy.
Yeah.
Like there's guys here that there's people here that a guy came to rape their daughter or whatever, and the father ended up killing them. He's doing time.
Yeah.
Or he didn't even kill them. He put a knife through them, and the guy ended up with injuries. He's doing time.
Yeah.
Even though it was his house.
Yeah.
That's how we live in Canada, buddy.
Mm.
Like it's how crazy it is in Canada.
Yeah.
Like there's no self-defense here. Self-defense is use of force to only be used enough to restrain the person from causing harm to that incident. But what's use of force when someone pulls up with a gun?
Yeah.
The exact use of force is to shoot him.
Yeah.
In Canada, you go straight to jail.
Yeah. Well, you can't keep firearms, can you?
So I'll talk about that right now. So I'll say enough to say, like, I know people with firearms,
Yeah.
licensed firearms,
Yeah.
licensed legit firearms that are trained professionals that are members of gun ranges here in Canada right now.
Yeah.
Okay. They've got a letter to return all their guns, and the guns are going to be sent to Ukraine.
Yeah.
The government's not even paying for them. They're just coming confiscating them. RCMP's confiscating them. You want to hear something crazy? So in my divorce, when I had one of the allegations, when I was in the back of a cruiser, the cop that arrested me took my cuffs off. He's like, yo, I know this is BS. Like, just chill. And he's like, I went through the same thing in my divorce. And I'm like, what are you going to do now after you drop me off to the station? He's like, my job is to pick up a bunch of firearms from these normal people that have licensed firearms. I'm there to just pick them up. He was running on CPEC. He was running different license numbers of firearm licenses that were expired. So he could have weight on them to say, oh, but your license is kind of expired, so you need to like return the gun that you purchased.
Mm.
So that's how Canada works. And the next Liberal government already said that they're going to invest, I don't know, I think billion or some 100 million into more enforcement of firearms now that they want complete zero firearms on the streets. But literally a guy can come in your house, do whatever he wants to you, and you have to think, am I going to hurt him enough to not go to jail? Yeah. That's how you have to think here in this country.
That's insane.
That's Canada, buddy.
Yeah.
I don't think you're coming here, man. If you like this podcast and like our content, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Now let's get back in the podcast.
No, that wouldn't fly. I wouldn't even live in a state that was like that.
Yeah, well, in America,
but that's the one thing that's one thing that's really nice is because we have states that have some crazy. To me personally, I don't believe in their gun laws, right? So, but I can move to another state.
So you don't believe in having guns? Is what you're saying? Like the amount of guns that are out there in the states, you don't believe in that?
No, I 100% believe in it.
Oh, you believe in it? Okay.
I believe in guns. I think people should have a right to have guns. But what I'm saying, but if I go to a state that they don't have rights to have firearms, I can leave that state and go to a couple states over.
Isn't it universal, the First Amendment?
The Second Amendment, yes, it's universal, but there is states that still try to like minimize. Like California is a big like anti-firearm state.
So tell me how it differs from California and Texas. What can I do in California that I can do in Texas with the firearm?
So like magazine, like how many rounds you can have in a magazine.
Okay.
Right. So like California is different about how many rounds that they have.
Okay. So how many rounds, for example?
I don't know exactly what it is. I know they've minimized it. Right. You can't have like 30-round clips. Right. You have to have different stipulations on like the butt stocks and all these other kind of things. Right. So then like you have to have more things like actually like registered with the state. Right? State of Florida, you don't have to do that. State of Texas, you don't have to do that. You know what I mean? So like, So there are, every state's a little bit different. Getting like a concealed carry permit, like I believe you should be able to carry a firearm, right? So every state's a little bit different on that, on how you can receive a firearm. You go to New York, and there for a long time people were flying into New York through. There was cases where people were going into New York with a handgun. They were supposed to go to like Atlanta. Their flight get changed, and the flight in Atlanta gets canceled. They go to New York. They land in New York, get arrested, go to jail because now they're in New York with a handgun.
That's crazy.
And you're like, bro, nobody was intended to go to New York.
So it's not universal, basically. There, the Second Amendment's not universal. Like it's not nationwide.
So it's not. There's different laws per state that regulate how you can have that firearm. That's where they try to get like tricky.
But when did that change? Was it always like that, or that changed?
It wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
It's like as the time goes on and things progress.
As we became more liberal.
Right. Yeah. As you become more liberal and more like progressive and woke. Yep.
Yeah.
Then you start. Then they're like, okay, we're gonna do this, protect these. You know.
Soon they're gonna turn to Canada too, eh?
No, that ain't happening.
It sounds like it, bro.
No.
It sounds like
No,
soon,
that ain't happening.
Soon, like you're turning into Canada,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
Here, I stopped going to the gun range. I love shooting, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Right. So, me and some of my friends. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say. We go to the range. We used to go to the range. We have rifles. We have Glock 21s. We have Glock 20s.
Yeah.
We do all sorts of. I personally like the 9mm. I don't like the 40 caliber.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like the kickback in the 40.
Yeah.
Right? So we used to shoot. I stopped going there because all my buddies were getting harassed that, you have to return your guns now.
Yeah.
So these guys were like, yo, we're not returning. We're just hiding our guns.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I paid for this. Unless the government's coming and giving me like
Yeah.
buying this gun, that's another
Yeah.
conversation. No, like you have to hand them in and it's going to go to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what kind of social country is that? Like, they can just
That's
take
insane.
what you own. You paid for it.
Yeah.
Right. And some of these guns are expensive, bro. Like, some of my friends, like the guns they have is like a couple grand, bro. Like $4,000, $5,000.
That shit ain't happening in America.
Yeah. It's happening here. Right. I'm telling you, I was with the cop that arrested me. That was his next task. He's like, oh, you just happened to be in my way. My task today was to pick up guns.
Yeah.
And now I'm taking you to the station. I'm like, okay. And literally, while I was sitting in the back of the cruiser, I was looking at the CPIC thing, and I saw the names he was running. He was literally putting his thing in his logs to addresses to visit to pick up guns.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can refuse it. No, it's like, I'm here. You have to give me the gun. It's in your house.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Or else I'm arresting you. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what's happening in Canada.
Yeah, it's insane.
And then there's a lot of illegal guns on the street. Because of this, a lot of like the bad arms dealers from the States would smuggle guns here.
Yeah.
Right. And then bring illegal guns.
Yeah.
I used to have a gun license in Canada. I never renewed it because I saw these. Even when I had it, bro, it's so bad here. Like, so when you get a firearms license here, it goes on your plate. So your license plate also shows that it's a firearm license.
On your driver or
on your plate. Yeah. So when cops pull you over, they pull you over like this.
Yeah.
And they're ready to like, oh, sir, hands up. Like, I'm like, yo, bro, chill. I'm just a civilian. And let me explain certain the mentality. So part of holding your gun license in Canada, the law is that if you conceal it in your car, you have to first call this number, let them know that you're transporting your gun from your house to like a range or anywhere you're going. And you have to have a box where the gun is separate, the magazine is separate, and the bullets are separate.
Yeah.
So they can't all be together even.
Yeah.
And if they find you in violation of that it was all in one box, even then you get a charge.
Yeah.
So these laws exist, and this cops still come up like this. They treat you differently. So when I used to get pulled over for a speeding ticket back then, it was like the worst thing. Like right away, backup would pull up because they can see on file that I have a firearms license.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Bro, it's crazy, man. Like when you have a firearms license, it's like it's like man, like I have a legit firearms license. I'm not carrying it with me, but right away the cop would come intimidated with his gun, with his hand on his gun, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
So it was not worth it. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. We live in a country that doesn't, accept this.
Yeah.
So I used to shoot a lot of guns back then, man. I was getting really good at it.
Yeah.
Like shooting on really far distances and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I gave up. I started it again 2 years ago. And then just recently again, when the Ukraine war happened, the laws just said, hey, we need to send these guns to Ukraine. That's how they're sending them. Taking civilian guns and sending it there. And I heard people out there aren't even getting the weapons that they need. That's another conversation.
Yeah.
That's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Ukraine and Russia is another whole other conversation, man.
Yeah.
But that's how soft Canada is. And if we have, like I said, if we get another term of liberal, like their agenda of what they're trying to make, like I say it openly. I say like if these liberal guys win again, there'll be no men left here.
Yeah.
Like no real men will even say I'm a man.
Yeah.
Like men will be scared of being a man, just being a man.
Yeah.
Just being like a masculine man. Saying I'm a man is going to become like a misogynistic term.
Yeah.
That's how they want it. And you see it. Like, you see the people that support them, like the wokeness. Like, when I talk to like some men, like even as my customers or whatever, right? Like, you see the betatization of men slowly by this woke agenda.
Yeah,
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you have to look at it like two different ways, right? So there is a psychological operation. There's an agenda that people try to hold,
Yeah.
right? You have to be smart enough to know when that is being applied, and you have the responsibility as a man
Thank you.
to go against it, right? So it doesn't matter what agenda that they're rolling up, that it's your job to not align with it. You know what I mean? And that's where ownership comes as a man to like, I'm sorry if I'm going to offend you, but what you're saying is wrong, right? You know what I mean? And like, that's what men have to do. So, and until they do that and they step up, then they're going to play in this kind of role, right? So then you have a point to where you get two extremes. Like, anytime an agenda is pushed, any agenda, whichever way it's come from, you start getting two extremes, right? One extreme to one far side, because they're so tired of being underneath this regime of this is the way I'm supposed to think, right? So they go way to the other side, right? And now they stick with the agenda where it's there, and they're way on the other side, right? Where people aren't using common sense and go, okay, hey, listen, it would be a lot better off if we just act like we were born to act, like as a masculine man and a feminine woman, and not be afraid to say what's wrong with that, because that's the way you were born.
Well, one thing I respect about Donald Trump, and I say it all the time to everybody. I'm like, listen, I don't care what you have your personal views about his life or this, that. I'm not here to judge that. But one thing I respect about him, the first thing he did was say that there's only two genders. Right? And you know what's crazy? So when he said that, the next day on a very big channel in Canada, a reporter asked our conservative leader, the guy who's a conservative party leader, Peter Paul leader, that what do you think? Are you like Donald Trump too? Do you have two genders? And he sugarcoated the answer. He said, well, he just reversed it back. Well, what do you think? How many genders are there? He didn't address it like a man. He didn't say like, there's only two genders. That's what I believe. No. So again, even our conservative leadership, like it still panders to the narrative. So to get, because they're still feeling like they have to pander to get in power, and then they can say these things.
So the problem is whenever that reporter said that, you have two things that happen right there at that point, right? And politicians, that comes with wisdom, right? To where, right? He probably heard it. They said Donald Trump. So now he's a Canadian, and they're talking about a U.S. politician. So now he's like, if I say I agree with Donald Trump, then the media is going to say I agree with him on everything, right? So, but you're okay to agree with somebody on 1, 2, 3, 5, 20 things. It doesn't matter. And then you can disagree about the other 3 things or whatever that is, right? So he should have answered however he wanted to, however he felt about Donald Trump, and he could have answered, no, there's only two genders. Right? But if you're not going to answer because he's tiptoeing around it, like that's what politicians do, because they feel like they're getting stuck into whatever, right? So, but at the end of the day, you just need to be a man and be like, no, this is the thing about it. There's opinions and there's facts. And when somebody digs up your bones and they check what gender you are or what sex you are, there's only 2 of them.
100%.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
There's like what your emotional feeling, if you want to call yourself they, them, us, whatever, that is an emotion. That is not a fact.
That's your illness, right? Or however you want
to say it, right? So like you can call yourself a dog or a cat as far as I'm concerned. But like the fact is there's 2 sexes. There's male and there's female.
What's crazy is that when I tell all the people is that the fact that we even have this, it's even a conversation. 10 years ago, this would be considered mental illness. Like, no one would, like, if somebody said this kind of stuff that they're saying today, like, are you okay? Like, you'll be in a mental hospital, right? But this guy, I think he took a blow from that. And that's why I think some of the stuff, like, because the thing is, reporters are smart. And liberal reporters are very smart.
Oh, yeah.
So they pick up and then they say, like, look, let's put this guy down. So they ask him some hard, stone cold facts about the conservatives here. And this leader, like, I think he failed. And this is why now they're saying the liberals are ahead again in Canada, because he would have, a lot of the conservative supporters are like, oh, well, so you're not really straight about it either. Why would I support you?
Yeah, well, so this is the problem when you try to toe too many party lines. You just need to be yourself and have conviction in what you believe in.
100%.
And then wherever the chips lie, right? Because then that's one thing, like I 100%, with Trump, that he says things people don't like, but he lies where he lies. I have never, unless somebody can say something that he said that he was going to do that he didn't do, or say, hey, this is what I was going to do, and then do something totally different. So at the end of the day, you're voting for what you're voting for. But most politicians don't do like that.
Yeah.
They just, hey, I say one thing, I get elected, and then now I can't answer a basic question.
Yeah.
Like, is there two genders?
Yeah.
Yes or no would be
Yeah.
100% fine.
He just switched it back at them. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
And that was so bad. I'm like, and I think a lot of people that I speak to about this, they don't like him anymore. They're like, oh, well, a lot of his popularity declined from that. I think if he actually said that there's two genders, he'd be like, oh, we have another ballsy guy too. Like, he's got only more followers. But
I don't understand how that's ballsy.
No, I know. Like, the
But
fact
what I'm
that
saying, but
in
this is the
today's,
problem.
in
So this
today's
is-
soft environment, buddy, just calling yourself a man is ballsy.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Like, the stuff that me and you were doing, which is like bullshit. And
Yeah.
this is like just regular shit. Like real men stuff that you've done in your life,
Yeah.
like we can't even talk about. Like,
Yeah.
because if we did, they'll be like, oh, these are like terrorists pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? But like just being a man today is considered ballsy.
Yeah. So like at the end of the day, there's facts, and you can't get away from facts, right? So at the end of the day, like I said, that's not.
Buddy, like I said, at least you guys have that part right, where no matter what what's going to happen to the economy, that's one thing, but at least you guys have common sense again there with Trump leading that.
Yeah.
And he banned like the stuff that was happening with men playing in female sports and
Yep.
stuff. Like, bro, that's
Yep.
crazy. That's nuts.
So what
That's retarded.
I don't understand how somebody.
Like me coming from a
thinks
combat
that's-
background, I can tell you that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've been around boxing gyms my whole life, and there's a reason why even female boxing professionally is completely different than men in boxing. Completely different. Like they do 2-minute rounds, we do 3-minute rounds. The way they hit is completely different. Their training's completely different. They don't hit close like. And I know this. I don't want to sound like I'm anti-female at all. No, it's just we're different biologically.
So,
we're
no, that
biologically different.
To me, that has nothing to do with being anti-female.
Yeah, I'm just
That
putting it
should
for the
be-
record, right?
Well, I know, but that's where like the thought process is. Like at the end of the day, I would not want my daughter fighting against a male.
Yeah.
Right. Like so, I wouldn't want my son turning into a female and fighting against another female.
Correct.
Like so, like why is that? There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing to even like. That is being a man because you're trying to help protect women. Feminist women, this feminist like kind of mindset.
Yeah.
To me, a feminine is somebody who is a woman who wants to be feminine,
100%.
right? A masculine, somebody's a man who wants to be masculine. So why would I want a woman to fight against a man,
Yeah.
right?
It's insane. Like
The laws, you go by the hypocritical laws. If a man hits a woman, that's domestic assault, right? It's not okay, right? Obviously, it's not good for a woman to hit a man either.
Correct.
But a
But it's
man
not the
has, but a man can exert a lot more power for a
course,
majority of the time.
with
You know what I mean?
testosterone, right?
So, but why would you want that unfair advantage, right? Like, so if you supported women, why would you not be against that? And it still goes to the point where you see some of these, who is it? You see like these guys going out there and asking like these tough questions to people, right? Especially on the left liberal leaning side, and then they get in this pinhole in this position, like, hey, do you believe in women's rights? They say yes. Then they go, well, hey, do you believe a man should fight a woman? Oh, what about a trans man? And then they're just like, and they can't answer the question, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm in a place where I'm that hypocritical on something, like maybe I really need to relook at my belief and my thought process. Where if there's conflicting thought processes, then I'm probably wrong.
Yeah. But here in Canada, what's also happening is in the jails. So men that get convicted that are straight men will say there's a female. They say that I'm a female now. And they're getting thrown into female jails.
Yeah.
Doing life sentence in a female jail. There's a jail here in Kitchener. It's called Grand Valley Institution. I think it's the biggest female jail in North America. I think they got like over 10,000 inmates.
Yeah.
And now men are going there, acting as females, and they're getting girls pregnant inside there. And they're saying like, and the man is like, okay, well, since the law works this way,
Yeah.
right? Since the law works this way, I'm inside here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's insane.
I know a guy who used it to an advantage too. So one of my good friends, he went through family court, and his wife did some crazy stuff to him, which I can't talk about, but some really wild stuff, right?
Yeah.
And she took everything from him, everything from the house, that. And he didn't give her the Rolex back that he bought for her, this Rolex watch. He kept it. And he said, I'm not giving this to you. He bought it. He's like, I have the receipts. And the wife in the court proceedings go, oh, but he bought her, look, this Rolex is a female's watch, so it is mine. It's clearly evidently mine. It was a gift. And you know what he used for his defense? He said, I like wearing female watches.
Yeah.
And it worked. The judge didn't say anything. Yeah, well, he likes wearing female watches. Good. He gets to keep it.
Yeah.
So he used it again. He used it for his own thing. He's like, I like wearing a female Rolex.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's banana world out here. And
Yeah.
soon, what's even worse in Canada is like pedophiles are about to have rights here. Literally, they're not going to be called pedophiles. They already have movements saying that they're minor attracted individuals. That's the term being used for them. And you can't call them pedophiles soon.
So you don't have no laws in Canada against pedophilia?
I don't know much about the laws, but I know that right now
Yeah.
they're using the same. So if you study history of all these groups, trans,
Yeah.
they all followed the gay pride model. Okay,
Yeah, no, I'm tracking that.
so they all followed the model of what the gays did in the 90s and
Yep.
before, saying, oh, we need to have our own parade. We need to get people sympathize towards us that we feel this way and we're biologically this way.
Yeah.
The trans did the same thing. These trans people and the lesbians or whatever you want,
Yep.
the LGBTQ plus or whatever, the rainbow said, we
Yeah.
are the same. We have a flag, whatever. We're
Yeah.
part of this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Now the pedophilias are saying, well, we are also have our needs.
Yeah. Well, I hope that doesn't. I don't see how any country is gonna. Well, I mean, you got some countries that the laws are like they don't have like the same laws we have here in Western.
I'm telling
But
you.
that would be terrible.
That's
so.
execution. That's straight execution. In
So they're
so they have.
I don't know if they have that movement here, but I've seen some of it where there's some drama within the flag too, like where the gays don't want the gays don't want the
trans, yeah.
the trans
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah,
'Cause they're-
Yeah, because they're like disgusted by this. Like, yo, this is way too much. Some of
Yeah,
them
yeah,
say that.
exactly,
Like, I
yeah.
know people that say that, right? Look, there was a time I remember where like even in 2010, 12, like when I went to high school, one of the Catholic schools in the district, the principal came out as gay,
yeah.
and they fired her.
Oh yeah.
They fired her saying you can't be the principal of a Catholic school board to be
Yep.
gay. This is my time. This is
Yeah.
07,
Yep.
2007, which is not that long ago.
Yeah.
And there was no like how do I say it? There was no backlash against it. Nothing. It was like,
No.
yo, these were the rules of the Catholic school board.
Yeah.
We don't want gays. Go find another school.
Yep.
Right. And then she ended up writing this book of her memoir of how, as a Catholic woman, she always felt the need to like a woman or this, that, or the other.
Yep.
Blah blah blah, whatever.
Yep.
But no one really cared. Like it was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, buddy, Catholic schools here have rainbow flags on the Catholic school board, so it's part of the school board now. Here in Canada.
Here in
Yeah,
Canada,
yeah.
at the Catholic school.
Yeah, it doesn't matter every school, by the way. Let me tell you, even Islamic school now they have to follow this. So there's Islamic private schools that a lot of our community was sending their kids to, and they're told by the school boards that are managing them that if anything about gay or anything like this comes up with LGBTQ plus, you cannot talk against it. You can preach your message, but you cannot talk against it. So the kid has to freely say if he even wants surgeries done, he's allowed to do that. And one of the principals got fired. I know him personally. I can't say his name because he's under investigation still. He's a friend of mine. And he went against that and said, I'm teaching Islamic school. I can't do this.
So
Got fired.
how are you supposed to preach your message if the message is against homosexuality?
You can't. So you,
Well, that's
you
what
have
I'm
to
saying. So
filter it. So you have to filter it. Yeah, you can't talk about those things.
Okay.
So that's how it's become in Canada. I don't know how it's in the U.S., but I also know that the Catholic Church endorsed the rainbows as well. They've endorsed them.
But
are you Catholic?
I'm
or-
not tracking the Catholic Church. There are like some.
Are you Catholic? Or?
Yeah, so I was baptized Catholic.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
And what's your roots, by the way? What's your origins? Like before America, like where's your ancestors come from?
Oh man, I probably so I've got like the history books. Like
Look
we've
like an
actually
Irish
got
guy.
a lot of them.
If I had to say Irish.
Yeah, so there's Irish, there's
the ginger
English,
in you.
and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I have pretty extensive like European
Yeah.
background over there. But like my grandfather and his family came over on my mother's and my grandmother's side, so and that's the one I've like had like influence with like specifically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Catholic Church in the U.S. I'm not tracking. They do. I know like there's certain other churches there in the U.S. that's had like the pride flag, like they're flying it, and I'm like, the Pope does.
Yeah. Yeah. He endorsed them. Catholic Church.
Like
fully
he
endorsed
has. Is it the pride flag too?
them. Yeah. The Catholic Church has endorsed it. So here, when you leave,
Yeah.
go on Major Mac, and you're gonna see there's a school called St. Joan of Arc. It's a Catholic school. You'll see a big pride flag right in front of it. Right,
Yeah.
like 1 minute from
So
now.
so all right. So let's just take away from the sexuality of it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like if you look at scripture, that's like the number one sin is pride, and then you got a flag that's like that's what it's called. Like so like how many? I don't even know how much common sense that is anymore.
You want to tell you how much common sense is in Canada?
Yeah.
Parents are getting thrown into jail to say that I don't want my son or kid to go through a sex surgery.
Yeah.
They're going to jail because they're letting their own kids not have sex surgery, who are minors, by the way.
Yeah.
So the kid says at 4 years of age, I want to have a surgery done because in the school they taught me that I can be a woman.
Yeah.
And the father says no, the father goes to jail.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or they take the kids and put them into the foster system.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in Canada, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, thank God at least Donald Trump won in America. There's some resistance there
Oh,
for
yeah.
that reason. I respect that.
Yeah.
At least in next 4 years, you guys cut your cancer that was coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Because Biden was all about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Here, if the liberal government wins again, man,
Yeah.
we're already so like cucked up
Yeah.
that we're about to go some next
Yeah.
level. Like I say it openly, and there's gonna be no men.
Yeah.
If you're a man, you're gonna get thrown in jail just for being basic man. Yeah, I'm standing against this.
Yeah.
That's how it is in here.
Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Canadian government's whole like complete different game here.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, so there's guys in jail also. I told you there's guys claiming they're women and they get thrown in jail with the woman. So it's
Yeah.
working to their advantage. These are straight men.
Yeah.
They're not like that. They're just using the system. To
Oh,
their
yeah.
advantage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So like, yo, if I'm gonna go to jail, why don't I chill with women?
Well, anytime that you're going to put anything on there, that's why whenever you're enacting any kind of laws, you have to understand that people are going to use it for their advantage, no matter whatever the purpose of any law is. Right? So you just have to understand that when you're enacting whatever law that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So
how can people find you that are looking to find you up, and what would you recommend, like in terms of men? What's your message for men today that are out there that say, hey, I just want to be a good man, I want to be a good role model to my kids, I want to be a masculine man, but I'm confused because I look around and it's like I'm scared because I can't even be myself here in an environment that, like for example, in America you can, but here you can't. So what would your advice be for those men?
So at the end of the day, like as far as, all right, first you have to become the best version of yourself as a man, right? You got to take ownership of where you're at. You know, if you're talking to single guys, you know, like whoever you want to marry, like be somebody worthy of marrying that person, right? Yeah. So like, then own your own issues, right? Whatever traumas or problems you have, like you got to fix that. Providing for your wife is not just financial, right? You're providing everything. Yeah. You're making her feel safe in her feminine space, right? Anytime for me, if for some reason, like my wife's not in her feminine space, I look at myself first. Am I doing everything that I need to be doing as a man to make sure that our relationship is good, right? Yeah. Like there's a point where, to me, I think you take ownership of it. Now, I'm saying that's in the best case scenario that as you were, the problem men have, this is what the problem they have, just not just men and women before, is they get emotional ties before they verify that this is the person they want to spend the rest of their life with, right? So you start dating, right, living together and everything else, and you're not thinking clearly, and you're not like, okay, does this person have the character traits, and do we align enough to where we're going to make it for 50 years, right? If you're just making tough decisions and be like, hey, this is what I want. These are the standards that I want my husband or wife to live towards, then you're going to have some problems. Like, you're not going to hit everything, right? But like you should have like, wait, this is what I'm looking for in a woman. And this is what I'm looking for I would say the same thing for a woman. This is what I'm looking for in a man, right? I will tell you, for a man, if your first things that you're looking for as a woman is not her character traits, then you're already messing up. Right? If you're like, oh, I want her to be blonde, 6 foot, like whatever, like, bro, you've already missed the mark. At the end of the day, right, I want her to have these character traits. You know, I want her to be a good mother. Is she a provider? Can she show me peace? Like whatever. And you're looking for all that stuff, then the attraction is going to be there. And obviously you're going to have some kind of attraction. Yeah. Right? But the reality of it is you're going to get old. She's going to get old. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, does she have the same kind of, I'm a physical fit guy. I want my spouse to be physical fit. Is she going to be as physically fit? You know what I mean? She's going to live within that lifestyle, right? Well, if you're leading the household, then why would she not? You know what I mean? But that's kind of where, like, you know, first it's picking a spouse that you're going to align with, that you're going to be able to make it towards that time frame. Yeah. And until you get married, to me personally, until you get married, there's no like loyalties to a point to where it's like, hey, listen, this is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. I can cut sling load, mm-hmm. right? You got to be willing to be like, hey, you're not this isn't going to work. We're not compatible, right? But once you get married, to me personally, that's it, and you just made a life commitment.
When you say marriage, are you saying state marriage or under the church or under the eyes of God, or like what? Like, or doesn't?
So to me, that's what you kind of look at there too, because now that's a whole different kind of argument, right?
Conversation,
holding a conversation, right? Because
as a man, I don't believe that in these Western laws that I would ever get married on the state on paper ever.
Yeah,
I would not want to get the government involved in my business because they don't have my best interest.
Yeah.
Right?
So
they don't have our best interest.
So if you are a man of faith, yeah. right, and you say, because that's the one thing that you can kind of get in a whole different conversation on marriage, right? Mm-hmm. Because marriage, if you look at it in a institutional mm-hmm. like way, that was a whole controversy about they changed the verbiage of a marriage.
Correct.
Right? So that's an issue, right? Marriage originally was between a man and a woman under God.
Yeah.
It was a religious.
And witnesses.
Yep, right? Yeah. So now the fact that that's no longer the case because it came into with the states and whatever, and then you get more tax breaks and everything else, right? Now, whenever we're like, okay, that's not longer the case anymore, anybody can go get a marriage, mm-hmm. right? Which is not considered a marriage anymore because now you could be used to be a man. This is a woman. This what you can be.
Yeah, anything.
They, them, he, whatever, right? 100%. And you could just so now you've changed the verbiage of it, right? Yeah. But now you can't expect somebody that's going to live like that to abide by my faith.
Correct.
And how I believe in that, right? Mm-hmm. So if I believe in my faith and I'm going to marriage under God, then that's what I'm following.
Correct. That's what I meant. Yeah.
So like then, but you can't.
So underline has to be God.
You can't. Yeah, the underline has to be God because you can't expect
humans to do it. Right?
Yeah, you can't expect somebody else there to do it, right? Yeah. Like that's your choice, and that's. You know what I mean?
Like that's one thing that's important. That's why I always tell even all my Christians and Jewish brothers, and I always say like we have to put God first in everything, right? And even in a marriage, I think that's what marriage meant is you put God first between you two.
Yeah.
Right? This whole the commercial marriage thing of like till death do us apart and all these like fake like commercial stuff that came with it. That's not how marriage was.
No.
Right?
No.
Marriage was you put God first, that you're putting God as a witness to use God's guidance in whatever decisions you guys make together and fulfill. That's what marriage was historically, right?
Yeah.
And it was public information so that people knew that, hey, look, this is my wife. Now she's off limits. Now I'm off limits. It was a public thing. But we made everything so commercial, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you live in a fallen world.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, that's why we have all these problems that we have now.
So being a guy, I have to ask you this question before we end the podcast. I have to ask you this.
Yep.
And this is just my question. Like, based on everything you're seeing now, right now, where do you see the Western world going with the way it's out of control? Like, where do you see this going? Are we in for good times or are we in for and eventually this is going to all fail? Because if there's no men left in this world, what's going to happen? Because I don't think the world can be left without men. Like, we're down for doomsday. Because even now, 95% of infrastructure is still maintained by men that no one knows about.
Yeah, well, so this is the reality. This is, like, obviously that's facts.
Right?
Right, that's true. Whether people that listen to this want to hear it or not, it's just facts, right? The men are what make this country run.
Correct.
Right? Doesn't mean that like, and this is the problem when we talk about men and women and everything else. It starts to become this like
toxic masculinity.
Not just the toxic masculinity. It comes like, oh, you don't value.
Correct.
Right? That's not what
I'm not
saying.
Equal to you. Or
you're not equal, right? Yeah. So, like, equals two different things, right?
Equity.
So, and you can look at that. That's a whole different conversation. We're like, okay, well, how are we equal? Are we equal? Is there different, right? Because the reality of it is if me and my wife started a starting line and we run a 100-meter dash, we are not equal, right? If, hey, I need you to pick up this weight, we are not equal, right? So... But then if she says, then you go, hey, listen, I need you to nurture this child. You're not equal.
100%.
Right? And there's nothing wrong with not being equal. Yeah. Like, that's the problem that people have is, like, people say, oh, we need to be equal. You're equal in the eyes of God of who you are as a human being.
As human beings,
right? But you are not equal in your capabilities. Correct. And there is nothing wrong with that. Yeah. You should be proud that you're not equal, right? Both sides. Women should be proud they're not equal to men. Men should be proud that they're not equal to women. Like, this is the problem that I have with like this back and forth. Like it's a negative thing. Like, men and women are there to
compromise each other. Yeah, that's what I say.
Not to be fighting and not to be against each other.
Yeah, I don't want to marry a man. Like, I always tell women, like, when I sit with sometimes these women even sometimes don't even get it when I'm talking to them. Like, even my single days back in the day, when I would vet for a wife or whatever. And whenever I met a woman that was always competing with me, I'm like, yo, I don't want to, after I finish my days of work, dealing with all these problems in my life, dealing with a lot of aggressive men in construction, I don't want to come home and deal with that again. I want to come home to a nurturing woman and fall in her laps and be able to just be like, hey, I can chill now. Like, why?
So the thing about it is, though, is this is where you get the rub, I think, if you kind of sit here and look at it, is because did anybody teach you what a man's supposed to be? You don't go to school and learn it.
No.
Right? Did anybody teach a woman how a woman's supposed to be? Nobody. She didn't go to school and learn it, right? So, and then culturally, what a man is and what a woman is going to change over cultures. Right? Then you got religion. It's going to change how they perceive.
I think religion perceives it the same. If you go to the core of all the religions, a man is a man in all religions, a woman's a woman in all religions.
Yes.
And there's no dispute in that.
But then you have the denominations that are what is kind of like the same way as you have a pride flag and whatever, right? So, like, if you're going to put a pride flag out there, now you can't tell me that you no longer see men and women the same because now, right? So that's where you start getting this perversion of not really following scripture and gospels, right? So, if nobody's teaching you and then you go, oh, this is what it means to be a man, right? Or this is what it means to be a woman. That's where the rub is, right? Okay, well, what does that look like? And everybody's like, oh, well, it looks different. You know, and that's where the real rub is. But if you look at it through scripture, this is the thing about it is like when I talked about, you know, where women are different, men are different, right? Is in the biblical term, a woman, I want to say this, a wife submits to her husband, right? And then a husband puts his wife first, right? They both submit to God, right? So if you're doing that, because this is the reason why you have to do it, is one person has to lead a household. Anywhere. There's no organization in the world
doesn't have a leader.
Where it doesn't have a leader. Somebody has to lead, right? And, well, that's the way we were designed, right? Because men naturally are usually more logical. Right? They are stronger. They can provide. They can protect. All these other things. They gather more resources. Women's more emotional. She can nurture. Like, all these are great things, and nobody should ever be like against them. Like, that's why I don't even know why this is a fight in today's like age.
But if you look at your elections, it was about a man versus a woman. That's what it was about. It wasn't about what their policies are. It became almost at the end of it. I remember it was like, oh, we need the first female U.S. president. They were like pushing for that.
So, but that's where you come into identity politics. It's not even about belief systems anymore, right? It's about same thing when it has to do with race, right? You're like, everybody's voting for somebody because of the color of their skin, and you're like, do we not want to judge him by his character?
100%.
Like, why? I don't understand what we're doing here, right? All that is just a political motivation. So,
but you saw that in the election. Like, I think the liberals screwed apart. I think if they had a male candidate, they would have won, actually. To be honest with you, if that is sensible. If Obama went against Trump, I think they would have won.
Well, he can't run.
But he can't run, but let's, in a hypothetical, right? I just think that liberals didn't even focus on policies. They were just so pushed up on this agenda that we want the female black president to win. Instead of what the policies are, what she's going to do. None of that was discussed. Right? Like, I was following your politics, and I saw that, like, on the liberal channels, it was all about that. And even when she lost, it was like, I remember, like, there was a speech or something that she did, and it was like, woman lost today. It became a woman lost today. It's like equality lost today. Our agenda lost because it shows that misogyny exists. It was even like that, even when he won. Like, it was like, okay, misogyny exists.
Well, I mean, that's the point where you start getting off to it's not the best candidate. You know, and that's where people have to, that's where your emotions kind of start getting into it and not like real
substance.
Real substance. You know what I mean? And like, so like the best candidate should win and it should be irrelevant
100%.
to the color of their skin
100%.
or their sex.
100%. Or the religion they follow. Thank you for coming on, Terry.
No worries, man. It's good talk, man.
Thank you so much. That marks the end of the episode. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'll bring you on again. Until then, peace out.